Right now, on planet Earth, there are wild cats that outweigh most adult humans by 3 or 4 times over. Some wild tigers can exceed 250 kilograms, with exceptional individuals approaching 300. Lions well over 200. Genuinely massive predators just walking around. But dogs? One of the heaviest, reliably documented wolves weighed around 67 kilograms. No living wild canid approaches the size of the largest living big cats. So here's the question. Why did evolution let cats become absolute giants? And just stop with dogs? And here's the twist that changes everything. It wasn't always this way. 10 million years ago, there was a giant wild dog, roughly the size of a modern lioness. And it's gone now. So the real question isn't why are dogs small? It's what happened. By the end of this video, you'll know why big cats got to keep their size, why one giant dog species vanished completely, and why, as you'll see, dogs didn't actually lose this race at all. They just won it a different way. Let's get into it. Let's start simple. Let's just look at the numbers because they're honestly kind of shocking. A male tiger averages 180 to 220 kilograms. Some verified wild tigers have hit over 300. A male lion? Similar story, up to 225 kilograms in the wild, with one recorded individual at 272 kilograms near Mount Kenya. Now compare that to a wolf. A gray wolf, the largest living wild canid, averages just 35 to 55 kilograms. And in Yellowstone, the most closely studied wolf population on the planet, one of the heaviest wolves ever recorded weighed about 67 kilograms. So do the math. The largest cats can weigh several times as much as a typical large wolf. Now the question is, why would evolution allow that gap to exist? It's not like dogs chose to be small. Something is stopping them from getting bigger. And that something is the real story here. But it's not one single trait. As you're about to see, cats and dogs each ended up with a different combination of body, hunting style, and social behavior, and only one of those combinations still leaves room for giants. But here's the twist. This wasn't always the case. Around 10 million years ago, in North America, there was a wild dog called Epicyon haydeni, and this thing was massive. Different studies estimated a little differently, but several reconstructions put large individuals well over 100 kilograms, with the biggest known specimen estimated at up to 170 kilograms. Lioness-sized, maybe even bigger than some lions alive today. It had a huge domed skull, reinforced jaws, teeth built to crush bone similar to what a hyena does today. So a giant wild dog did exist, which means the door was never fully closed. Something else pushed dogs back down to wolf size, while several lineages of cats got to stay at tiger size. So what's actually going on here? Why did one group stay giant while a giant version on the dog side eventually vanished? One of the biggest clues is hiding in the forelimbs. Here's the part that changes how you'll see cats and dogs forever. Cats hunt with their arms. Not just their mouths, their arms. Large cats tend to have forelimbs well suited to controlling struggling prey, more rotation at the elbow and wrist, and claws that stay retractable, which keeps them sharp instead of getting worn down from everyday walking. When a big cat attacks, it can use its front paws almost like hooks, grabbing on, wrapping around, helping to pin the prey down. That gives the jaws a much safer shot at finishing the job, because the prey is already partly under control. And here's why that matters for size. If part of your strategy is physically overpowering something with your body, then being bigger and stronger genuinely helps. More mass, more leverage. But here's the problem for dogs. Many canids, especially the ones built for open terrain, evolved forelimbs optimized more for efficient forward movement than for grabbing, joints that move mostly in one plane, built for covering distance rather than twisting and holding on. Their claws don't retract either. They're built more like traction cleats for running than hooks for holding on. So a solo wolf has a much harder time physically restraining something several times its size. Its main tool is really just its jaws, and using jaws alone on a large, thrashing animal is risky. That's part of why living wild dogs rarely try to take on giant prey completely alone. So what does this mean for body size? For a cat built this way, getting bigger tends to make solo hunting more effective. For a dog built for distance, getting bigger doesn't offer that same payoff, and running around at very large body sizes gets expensive fast. Which brings up an obvious question. If solo dogs struggle against big prey, how does a wolf ever take down something like a bison? Simple. They don't do it alone. This is the real trick modern dogs figured out. Pack hunting. A group of wolves working together, surrounding, tiring out, and taking turns attacking, can bring down prey many times larger than any one of them could handle solo, like elk or bison. It's not that 10 wolves equal one giant predator. It's that teamwork lets moderately sized animals tackle a job that would be dangerous for an individual. And here's the clever part. Once cooperation is doing the heavy lifting, there's not much benefit to any single wolf being huge. A much bigger wolf wouldn't make the pack meaningfully more successful. It would just need a lot more food to stay alive. And in lean months, when prey is scarce, that's exactly the animal that struggles first. So evolution nudged wolves toward a sweet spot. Moderate individual size, plus teamwork, equals success both during good hunting seasons and lean ones. Big cats never needed this trick because, remember, a lot of them can still overpower prey largely on their own. So there was less pressure to shrink down or team up. Two different strategies. Both work. But only one of them still lets you become 300 kilograms of pure muscle on your own. Which raises a fair question, though. If being huge is that costly, why do cats get to keep doing it at all? Because ambush hunting runs into a different kind of cost. A big cat isn't burning energy chasing prey for miles. It hides, waits, and unleashes one short, explosive attack. Being a huge predator is still expensive either way. It's just that cats pay that cost in a single burst of effort, while dogs pay it in miles covered. Same underlying problem, showing up in two very different places. Okay, but this still leaves one big question. If Epicyon, that giant 100+ kilogram bone-crushing dog, actually existed, why isn't it around anymore? Here's what happened. There's no single, clean answer. It looks more like a pile-up of pressures happening at once. Around 10 to 6 million years ago, North America's climate started cooling and drying out, and its habitats and prey communities shifted along with it. Thick forests that ambush hunters relied on for cover gave way to more open grasslands, and prey animals in that kind of terrain tend to evolve longer legs and better endurance to escape. The hunting game shifts from sneak up and grab it toward chase it down over distance. That kind of shift is tougher on a heavy, powerfully built ambush and crush predator like Epicyon than on a leaner, lighter lineage of dogs, closer to the ancestors of modern wolves, that was already better suited to a more open, run-heavy world. On top of that, there's a broader pattern researchers have found across meat-eating mammals. Once a predator gets above roughly 20 kilograms or so, the energetics of hunting start pushing it toward needing consistently large prey to make the math work. So when prey populations get squeezed by shifting climates, big specialized hunters are often hit the hardest, while smaller, more flexible predators can shift their diet and ride it out. Taken together, those changing habitats, prey communities, energetic costs, and competition likely made life harder for large specialized canids like Epicyon. Eventually, that lineage disappeared, the last of them gone by around 2 million years ago. Now, if you've watched any documentary or a certain TV show, you've probably heard of the dire wolf, and you might be thinking, wasn't that the giant dog? Here's what the DNA actually showed. In 2021, scientists sequenced ancient dire wolf DNA and found something nobody expected. Dire wolves split off from the gray wolf family tree over 5.7 million years ago. They lived alongside gray wolves and coyotes for thousands of years, and in the genomes researchers have studied, they found no evidence of gene flow between them at all. They were basically evolutionary strangers wearing a very similar disguise. But here's the part that surprises people most. Dire wolves weren't actually giant. Estimates put them at somewhere around 60 kilograms, possibly approaching 70 in larger individuals. Only a bit bigger than a large modern wolf. Nowhere close to lion-sized. So even the biggest wild dog ever recorded comes with some uncertainty. But among known fossil canids, Epicyon haydeni remains one of the strongest candidates for the largest that ever lived. And just to close the loop, humans have bred giant dogs like Great Danes and Mastiffs, but only by changing the selection pressures entirely. Deliberate breeding plus food and medical care that nature never offers. Out in the wild, those old pressures push size right back down. Now, before we wrap up, it's worth saying this isn't as tidy as cats got big, dogs didn't. Lions hunt in groups too. Some ancient dogs were built more for pouncing than pure distance running. Evolution kept experimenting with both size and strategy on both sides of this story. The real question was never why can't dogs be big? It's why the giant version survived on the cat side and disappeared on the dog side. So here's the actual takeaway, and it's not the one you'd expect. Dogs didn't lose the size race. They found a completely different way to win it. Somewhere in their history, they traded solo grappling power for something arguably smarter: cooperation. A wolf doesn't need to be built like a tiger, because it's never hunting alone. Its strength is standing next to 4 other wolves who all made the same trade. So the next time your dog leans on you, or refuses to eat dinner without the rest of the family around, or just won't stop following you room to room, that's not clinginess. That's a few million years of evolutionary strategy, still running quietly in the background. Big cats bet everything on being unstoppable alone. Dogs bet on never having to be. If this made you look at your own dog a little differently, hit subscribe, because next time we're looking at a predator that had every physical advantage on paper and still lost to something a fraction of its size.